Okay, so I keep talking about putting chicken in the freezer, and what I do is I buy the big packs because they are cheaper. And some of it I can, but right now I have a busy day, and so I'm not going to be able to can. So what I'm going to do is freeze this meat before it goes bad, and I like it in smaller packages so that it's just me and Pop, so there's no sense in us having, you know, a 6.5 pound package, 6.5 pound package of meat that we would literally eat for, 2 weeks. So I try to think of recipes I can go ahead and cook it and put it up in the freezer or whatever, but since we're freezer's full of meals already, then I'm just going to go ahead and freeze this for later. So anyway, I'm going to do like 1 pound packages roughly. I'm not going to be exact about it. And that's just because a pound is good for us with a couple of leftovers, and I can always pull out 2 of them. If I know that everything's a pound, then I can pull out more than one, obviously, depending on how many people I'm feeding. So I'm going to show you how I do it, and it might be pretty self-explanatory how to use this, but I have a couple tricks that I do. So I do know that this package is roughly 6.5 pounds, and I'm sorry, 5.5 pounds, and there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 of them. So I'm just going to put 2 in each package. Like I said, it doesn't have to be exact, but we like these when we go camping to barbecue. And I have these pre-sealed bags that I buy off of Amazon. They're so much easier than having to seal or having the roll here that you pull out. This roll is really good when you have a small amount or even a really large package. I have vacuum sealed a whole package like this before, but I'll show you why I like to use these. I used to cut them down to size about in half because these are quarts, and I would cut them to like pint size, and then I ended up with all these extra strips, which I'm going to use to make seasoning packets so that I can do some bag shelf meals. But anyway, for now, one of the reasons I've decided that cutting them and trying to be stingy with it doesn't really work as well in the freezer, because you do have a lot of failures when that happens, and I'll show you why. And this is a trick that I've learned with these. Now these are chicken thighs, and like I said, it's approximately a pound for 2 of them, so that's what I'm going to put in each bag. I did do a couple of bags that have 4 just because I have so many here. So when you put it in and you seal it, you have to make sure there's no wrinkles here. And don't worry, I know I'm getting my fingers all over this, but I will sterilize all this when I'm done. You got an air pocket. One of the things you want to do, and the reason that it's good to use the whole quart size, is because it will have room to suck it up tight up against it. So even though I used to vacuum seal in a smaller amount, and this probably would fit in there, it didn't give it a lot of leeway to kind of suck to the edges, and so I did still end up with some failures. So we're going to hit this one. You just hit vacuum seal, and you'll see it starts to pull it in, and I usually squish it a little bit, and I squish it for 2 reasons. 1, it goes in the freezer easier, and 2, if there's any air in between them or in the little folds of meat, it pushes it out, so you get a better seal. And the whole purpose of vacuum sealing them instead of just putting them in a Ziploc bag is to get all the air out, because you end up with it lasts a lot longer that way. Now a lot of times I will also go ahead and marinate this meat as I'm putting it in, especially if it's just plain chicken breast, but we have a lot of that in the freezer already, so I'm just going to do plain. This is more versatile. I can pop these out and we can put them in the air fryer, or we can grill them. Barbecue, this makes really good barbecue because it, the skin get crispy and the fat adds extra flavor. So these are still a little frozen in the middle, but that's okay. They don't have to be completely thawed out for this to work. And matter of fact, we don't really need them completely thawed out. Now, normally I wouldn't even put them in the freezer until I've already done this, but the day that we bought these, we had a lot going on and I was not able to get to them. So I threw them in the freezer. And then the other day, I was going through the freezer, doing inventory to see what I needed before I did the chicken canning video, to see what I needed and how I needed it, whether it be small packages, large packages, you know, etc., etc. I saw these in there, and because they're packaged this way instead of vacuum sealed, I knew they weren't going to last a long time, so I went ahead and pulled them out. They've been in the fridge for a few days, and they just haven't thawed all the way out yet. That's why, thus you see this held its shape up against the other, but that's okay, it'll still work. And then I've got 1, 2, 3 pounds there, and then I've got 2 2-pound packages. So I'm going to keep doing 1-pound packages just because that seems to be what we end up using the most. So I do like to can chicken with bones in it because it's good for pulling out and making like a chicken and rice or chicken soup or something like that. A lot better. It's a lot better than chicken breast without the bones. But in this instance, we're not canning today. It's my daughter's birthday. We got a lot to do. I'm babysitting my granddaughter, so we are just getting it back in the freezer before it goes bad. And then the last package is going to be leg quarters, and these are really good for barbecue. So I will put this, again, this is 4 pounds. So I'll put 2 leg quarters in each bag so that we can have them if we want to barbecue. Let me see how big they are first before I say that. I say that and then I'm going to pull them out. Yeah. They got to go in one by one. So you can see where if you're dealing with something bigger, you're going to want something besides a quart size bag. And this might demonstrate my point about it having extra space, because you see how this pretty much fills up this. One thing, you have to make sure that it's not touching the side here, because the air has to be able to go out beside it. And if it's so tight in there up against the side, then this part of the air is not going to suck out, and then you're not vacuum sealed. You might as well just put it in a Ziploc bag. So you just want to make sure there's air on every side. You'll be able to tell when you start to suck it in. You see it's not coming out of this corner, so you want to pull that down, and I like to squish so we get a good tight vacuum. And you can see how it vacuumed out the air in these corners, which is what you want to see. And we got a good tight seal. Now there's bones here, so this can be problematic when you're freezing it. If you just toss it in the freezer, this can unseal, so you have to be careful with that when you're doing it. In fact, I can feel it's very sharp there. So sometimes when that happens, and honestly, had I realized this, I would have done this. I go ahead and take this little bloody pad and I cut it and I put that up against the bone, and that just keeps it from, you know, puncturing the bag when you toss it in the freezer. So we don't always have bones sticking out. This one does. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut a little piece of this just so I can avoid. I guess I need to buy some of this brand new. Now I want to make sure that this, I'm just making sure that's not coming out of there. No. So if this was a gel like a diaper has in it, you wouldn't want to do that because you know, the little pebbles would come out, but this is not like that. So we're fine here. Doing it this way, plus we'll rinse this when we're done or when we're ready to eat it. I'm going to go in like this first. My bone is on this side, so I'm going to stick that over there. I want that right against that bone.